The anime begins with Itoki Sakuraba, who is distracted in class, looking out the window. One of his classmates accuses him of sleeping, so the teacher sends him to the board to do a math exercise. However, he gets it wrong and everyone starts laughing. At the end of class, the student who said Itoki was sleeping and his other two friends invite him to karaoke. He says he would like to go, but he can't because he has classes. Then they say he is a party pooper because he always has classes in something. Itoki asks them to understand him, because he is the first one who would like to go out and have some fun. He explains that he goes to the gym 6 times a week and has gymnastics classes 3 times a week. In addition, he swims and does judo every week. He also says that he managed to convince his mother, Yumika Sakuraba, to take him out of flower arranging and dance classes. The friends joke that this is to be expected for the heir of a clan. Itoki denies it and claims that he is just the son of a shop owner, so he is not rich or anything like that. At this point, we see that a girl is listening to their conversation. Later, in the locker room, the friends continue to insist that Itoki accompany them to karaoke, saying that he needs to make good memories before the end of high school. In the end, they manage to convince him, and Itoki decides to accompany them. However, he changes his mind when he realizes that Kusetsu, his bodyguard, is watching everything he does. After that, Itoki is on his way home and notices that Kusetsu is walking behind him, annoyed. He suggests that she walk beside him, but she replies that she sees no reason for that. Kusetsu mentions that she is just making sure he doesn't miss classes and advises him to ignore her. Irritated, he says that she only does it because her mother asked her to. She replies that if they weren't childhood friends, she would refuse to do it. Later, Itoki has a flashback to his gym teacher, who encourages him to keep training when he enters high school. The teacher says that, despite the intense training, he could compete at another level. He knows it's a spur-of-the-moment decision, and that Itoki needs to talk to his family, but he's sure he'll do great. We return to the present, and Itoki is late to get to the gym. He decides to take a shortcut, jumping over the walls of houses. Suddenly, a car speeds toward him. With great skill, he manages to dodge it by doing a somersault. After that, he worries about the driver of the car and yells for an ambulance. At this point, we realize that the girl who was spying on him earlier is still watching him. We change scenes and meet Takasada Kaga, who works at Yumika's store. An angry customer complains that she found a bug in her lettuce. Yumika then comments that Takasada is not cut out to deal with customers and tells the other employees that some people are good at certain things and bad at others. She then dismisses him and asks him to pick up Itoki. In the next scene, Itoki gets into the car and apologizes for being late. Takasada suggests that he get his driver's license, but Itoki says that he doesn't need it. Takasada counters by saying that it was clearly his mother's order, since she gets annoyed with picking him up. On the way home, Takasada is alerted when he hears that Itoki almost got into an accident with a runaway van and finds it amazing that he still managed to go to the gym. Later, Yumika arrives home, and Itoki, seeing that she is tired, offers to help prepare dinner. At this point, we see a photo frame with a picture of his father, indicating that he has passed away while he is cutting vegetables. Yumika comments that a complaining customer has wasted a lot of his time. Itoki says that when he enters high school, he will get a job to help with his expenses, but Yumika replies that he doesn't need to worry since he still has the money from his father's insurance. She mentions that if he wants to drop out of school, he should start enjoying his youth, but she quickly adds that youth ends while education lasts forever, and so he should continue to attend all his classes. The next day, while walking to school, Itoki gets annoyed when he sees Kusetsu following him again. He complains that she acts like he's the center of the world. Kusetsu replies that he thinks he's too important, and that's why he bothers everyone else. Upon arriving at school, Itoki finds a love letter in his locker. He spends the entire day distracted, thinking about the person who clearly asked him out. After school, he runs into the girl who wrote the letter. She blushes and introduces herself as Satomi Tsubaki. Itoki responds by telling her his name, but she interrupts him, saying that she already knew who he was. Satomi confesses that she watches him all the time. She starts to compliment his qualities, saying that he is popular in class and very intelligent. However, Itoki denies this, saying that none of what she said is true. She also mentions that she saw how Itoki dodged the out-of-control van yesterday. Upon seeing this, Satomi confesses that she thought it was amazing, and suddenly asks him if he would like to go out with her on Sunday. Itoki screams in nervousness at the time. Changing the scene, Itoki lies to Yumika, his mother, saying that he is going to a school seminar with a friend on Sunday, and therefore asks permission to skip gym class. However, Yumika realizes that he is lying and asks if he has a girlfriend or something. This leaves Itoki completely paralyzed with embarrassment. At dinner time, Yumika asks a lot of questions about Satomi to make sure that she is a good girl for him. Itoki ends up confessing that this is the first time he has received a dating proposal and that he feels like his youth is about to begin. However, Yumika does not give him permission to go out because she believes that he cannot go out with someone he barely knows. Annoyed, Itoki gets up from the table and says that he is fed up with all of this. Later, in his room, he receives a text from Satomi saying how excited she is for their date on Sunday. Even without permission, Itoki decides to disobey his mother and goes to meet the girl. Very nervous, he asks her what she wants to do or where she wants to go, but unexpectedly Satomi suggests that they go to her house. Later, Itoki is already in her room, confused about what is happening. Satomi comes in with 2 glasses of iced tea, and this makes him even more tense. The two are sitting on the bed in an uncomfortable silence. Suddenly, Satomi takes off her clothes and throws herself on top of him. She asks if he doesn't like her, but Itoki replies that it's not that, he just wants her to get dressed. Satomi says that she is in love with him and prepares to kiss him, but Itoki pushes her to the side of the bed, explaining that he is not ready for that yet and that they barely know each other. He begins to suspect that it is all just a trap and that, at any moment, someone could appear to reveal that he fell for a trick. He decides to look under the bed and, to his surprise, finds a man dressed as a ninja cutting his face. Satomi then pulls out a knife and praises Itoki for his good reflex. As he managed to avoid the stab, more ninjas appear and attack Itoki, who is still confused, thinking that everything is a joke. However, when Satomi tells him to prepare to die, Kusetsu appears and rescues him. Kusetsu orders him to jump out of the window. With no other option, Itoki obeys and falls onto a special fabric with camouflage technology, becoming invisible. He is then put in a car and driven away. Desperate, Itoki begs for his life, as he does not understand anything that is happening, but when he opens his eyes, he sees Reiha and calms down. Mitsuzu, who is driving, is also a familiar face to him, as they both work at his mother's shop. Itoki asks where Kusetsu is, and Mitsuzu replies that she is fine. Since Itoki is the target, they need to take him to a safe place. However, the enemies throw spikes at the car, destroying the tires and causing the vehicle to flip. Itoki faints, and when he regains consciousness, Reiha asks him to flee back to the city while they face the ninjas. Itoki runs for several hours until he reaches a deserted street. Suddenly, the city lights go out. A police officer appears and Itoki explains everything that happened, but the officer does not believe him and asks him to calm down. The police officer says that the lack of power is due to the installation of a transformer. Itoki sighs in relief to find someone who can help him. However, an enemy appears and hits him, causing him to crash into a wall. The attackers tie him up and cover his mouth to prevent him from screaming for help. On the ground, her eyes fill with tears, believing that this will be her end, but at that exact moment, Takasada appears, smoking a cigarette. The first thing Takasada does is ask Itoki how the date went. He also wants to know if he managed to kiss her. Takasada realizes that the police officer is pretending to be dead and that, in fact, he is an accomplice of the ninjas. Soon after, the policeman gets up and joins his enemy, but Takasada is so fast that they lose sight of him. He approaches Itoki and apologizes for taking so long. He comments that it's time to get to work and then puts on a high-tech suit to face the ninjas. In a change of scene, Itoki wakes up. Resting on Kusetsu's legs, he wonders who the guys were who attacked him, but Takasada tells him to get out of the car because they've already arrived. Then Itoki sees a huge staircase and is told that this is his family's home. When we arrive, we see that everyone is gathered around waiting for the head of the clan. Then Yumika appears and Itoki is surprised to see his mother. However, she orders him to call her the head of the clan. She then explains to him that they are a clan of ninjas from the village of Iga. He doesn't believe her because his mother is the head of a service store. Yumika replies that this is just her mask to hide her true identity. She explains that all ninjas do different jobs to hide from society. She also adds that the ninjas have very strict rules and avoid conflicts with other villages by following these rules. Thanks to this, the balance has been maintained over the last few decades. However, in recent years, the village of Koga has sought to disrupt this balance. It reveals that there are numerous ninja villages. The ninjas of Koga use their great economic fortune and their modern jiu-jitsu as a weapon. They then learn that Koga is planning to take Iga. She then explains why they were after him. Itoki is the village successor. At this point, we see how everyone bows down to him, making him more confused. Yumika comments on why she raised him so rigidly. It was for this specific moment. She then tells him that he needs to become a ninja. Itoki is paralyzed because he doesn't believe it's possible. What's more, he's not even convinced that this ninja story is true. After thinking about it, he asks why the police don't take care of Koga's ninjas. But he is informed that the Koga clan can easily fool the police. The Takasada asks permission to take him away and clearly drags him out. While smoking, he comments that he understands how he feels. Despite this, Itoki must obey the boss's rules and become a ninja. Itoki explodes with anger, saying that until yesterday he led a normal life. He was going to school and studying. He thought he was studying at the same school as his friends. He had lots of things he wanted to do with them. At that moment, Takasada tells him that he can choose the third option, running away. He reveals that Yumika has asked him to run away with Itoki if necessary, so this is his only chance of escaping from this place without anyone noticing. Finally, he confesses that Itoki's father was the head of the village of Iga, and when he passed away, Itoki became his heir. However, he was still a child when this happened. For this reason, Yumika took over as village chief to protect him. She also says that she's not a ninja, just someone who became the head of some ninjas, just like him back then. So Itoki has to make the final decision. He starts to cry, saying that although he's afraid, he can't leave his mother alone. In a change of scene, we see that the Koga clan is discussing the plan to eliminate Iga village. Housen and Inhai are the substitute chiefs. They start arguing heatedly about the future of the organization. Listening to their plans, Kaido Minogue comments that they shouldn't fight among themselves, as they may still have time before they cut the jugulars of the rival clan's ninjas. The next day, Itoki wakes up and Raiha informs him that it will soon be time for breakfast. They mention that they will explain a future plan to him later. Afterwards, Raiha tells him that his school isn't safe and that they need to transfer him to another one. She then shows him a video in which we see that the best option is for him to attend Japan's only ninja school. Raiha manages to convince him, but warns him that the entrance exam is the day after tomorrow. After that, Housen goes to the protagonist's mother's store. He comes on behalf of the Koga company to accept a food distribution deal. Both Mitsuzu and Yumika know that this is an advantageous deal that clearly puts them at a disadvantage. Mitsuzu replies that this is unfair and violates the Ninja World Agreement, but Housen replies that the regulatory organization has judged that this is clearly not a violation. Finally, Yumika accepts his conditions to continue the deal, and before he leaves, Housen tells her that he hopes to strengthen their business relationship in the future. When they reach the car, he advises his son Suzaku to suppress his murderous feeling because a true ninja doesn't show his emotion. At dinner, Itoki confesses to his mother that he's nervous because he can't believe he's going to study at a ninja academy. He then asks her to tell him about his father. However, Yumika evades the question by telling him to eat before the food gets cold. The next morning, Takasada and Kusetsu head to the place where the entrance exams for the academy will be held. Itoki is upset because the place is the same, a gas station owned by the enemy village. Takasada assures him that ninjas are strictly forbidden to kill in this place. Itoki then asks an employee where ninja food is sold. This is the password that will lead him to the hall where the test will take place. The teacher then announces that, as everyone has gathered, the tests will begin. The first challenge will be a simulated ninjutsu test, which is basically a game of hide and seek. This test will take place between two people, the seeker and the finder. The teacher explains the rules they must follow and mentions that they will be watched by cameras at all times. The assessment will be based on how creatively they hide. Otoki is startled to see Ameko's expression, as she has the same disturbing look as a Satomi when she attacked him in his room. While Otoki is carrying out the activity, we see that Takasada and Kusetsu are in the store, eliminating rivals who were planning to attack. Kusetsu calmly tells him that there are ninjas in disguise after him, but that they can't run away, as they would fail and not be able to enter the academy. Just then, a ninja throws a sharp object at him, but Kusetsu manages to dodge it. Suddenly, she disappears and explains to Itoki that the woman is using Mirage Type 3 to camouflage herself. We then discover that the attacker is a Satomi who is seeking revenge for his escape. Kusetsu begins to fight her using her ninja outfit, but loses sight of her. Satomi approaches the protagonist, but at that moment he activates a device that manipulates fire and water, setting off the fire alarm and disabling the enemy's camouflage. Before she can reach him, a Kusetsu appears and kicks her. Satomi is stopped by the ninja responsible for preventing conflicts between the villages. As she is taken away, she shouts at Itoki that she is still going to kill him because of the chaos caused. The protagonist is disqualified from the test. Afterwards, Otakasada tells him that he needs to hide until the next exam. He suggests that Itoki go to a deserted island 4 days away by boat, but the protagonist gets angry and says he doesn't want to go. The Takasada asks him to calm down and enjoy a carefree life. Just then, Otakasada receives a phone call informing him that Itoki has passed the exam. The protagonist is completely confused by the news. After that, we meet Hayato, captain of the National Ninja Security Measures Committee. He informs his boss that the Koga have arrested a Satomi and 4 other members of her clan for attempted murder. Kidu Minobu apologizes on behalf of the village, but adds that these ninjas had been missing for a month and were considered deserters. He thanks him for handing them over, but Hayato warns him that if anything like this happens again, he will be held responsible. However, as he leaves the building, Hayato receives a call informing him that a Satomi has died in her cell. In a change of scene, Itoki says goodbye to his friends at school, saying that he will be studying at an academy in Tokyo. However, he cannot reveal that it is a ninja academy. His friends say that they will meet again when he returns. At this point, Itoki gets emotional and his friends joke that he just has something in his eye. Later, his mother, Ayumika, and the others say goodbye, telling him to study hard to become a great village chief. After that, he leaves with Otakasada and a Kusetsu for Tokyo. When the train arrives, they disembark at a hidden station. After several hours of travel, Itoki asks a Kusetsu when they will arrive, as they have been going through a tunnel for hours. Then they reach the surface and Itoki is surprised to see a beautiful island. They get off at the station and Itoki is delighted to see a Ryoko Suzanon and decides to approach her and introduce himself. Ryoko responds by saying that she is very happy to meet him. Soon after, her friends arrive and she leaves with them. Kusetsu, however, doesn't like the situation and kicks the protagonist. Later, Itoki looks around the gym and comments that he thinks he's going to have a lot of fun now. He goes out looking for a Kusetsu, but ends up bumping into a group of boys, including Suzaku-ban from the Okuga clan. Suddenly, a blonde girl appears and pulls him away, saying that it's good to see him again. Itoki doesn't understand anything, but it soon becomes clear that those boys had bad intentions. That's why the girl turned him away. She introduces herself as Kairi Kaisukawa and confesses that she feared for his life because that group belonged to the Kuga village and it was better to avoid them. Itoki says he belongs to the Iga village, and Kairi is surprised as this is one of the most famous villages in Japan, despite being on the verge of extinction. She adds that it is also in a complicated situation. In the end, Kairi shakes his hand and asks to be friends, and Itoki happily accepts. In a change of scene, the director of the academy welcomes the students, reminding them of the 3 fundamental principles of a ninja: avoid detection, never kill, and never betray. He asks everyone to respect these rules and wishes them a good time at school. Later, in the dining room, Kairi advises Itoki to choose the worst food on the menu so that he doesn't attract the attention of the Kuga, who have a lot of money and power and get angry when someone eats the same food as them. At that moment, Itoki stares at them and one of them stands up. Kairi runs away from the situation, saying that she needs to take care of something very important. There, Himura shouts at him, "What the hell are you looking at me for?" However, Suzaku orders him to calm down, reminding him that a true ninja doesn't show his feeling. He then says that the future Iga chief has no manners and accuses the Iga clan of having killed the Koga village chief. He says that Kishinmaru was the best ninja in history because no one could compare to him in ninjutsu. He also adds that he was an exemplary gentleman who wanted to strengthen strengthen ties with the other villages. Suzaku then gets angry and exclaims that he was a very good person who shouldn't have died, and that, for this crime, he promises to make the Iga pay. In the next scene, Itoki is excited to see the dormitory building and mentions that it looks better than his own house. However, Kairi explains that this is the Kuga family dormitory, at which point we see that the Ige dormitory looks like an old, abandoned place. There, Itoki exclaims that it looks like a haunted mansion. Kairi explains that the boys stay on the second floor and the girls on the third, then she goes to rest in her empty room. Itoki is surprised that Kusetsu enters without knocking. She just wants to warn him that the Koga are falsely accusing them. But Itoki ponders, because if it's true, it's likely that someone he knows killed Kishin Maru. The next morning, all the students are gathered for their first test. The teacher gives them their ninja outfits, which must be worn with the generic core. There, we discover that everyone knows how to use it, except Itoki, as he didn't go to ninja school and hasn't received any training in it. With difficulty, Itoki manages to put the suit on. The test consists of reaching the top of the castle, where the headmaster is eating cupcakes, to check that they have completed the test correctly. Each student must bring one, but the teacher warns them that the headmaster is lazy, and that if they arrive late, he could end up eating them all. So the competition begins and the students run at full speed, but Itoki can't even move in his costume. The Kuga comment that the future head of the Iga is useless, that he doesn't even know how to wear a ninja suit, so it will be very easy to eliminate him and pretend it was an accident. However, Suzaku orders them not to do anything that could incriminate them, especially around the school principal. Afterwards, Ryoko helps Itoki with the suit, setting up his mobility. As he does so, he gets nervous because the girl is touching him in several places. Then he feels like he's floating with this equipment and discovers that he can launch himself from heights without anything happening. Ryoko explains to him that this power comes from the suit and the ninja core, the core being the source of energy and tool. However, if the core breaks, the ninja suit loses its strength, so he must be careful not to damage it. Itoki thanks her for teaching him so much, and Ryoko mentions that she knows a lot because she belongs to the Shigatsu village, which has been responsible for making the suits and cores for generations. She adds that she approached him because she saw that he knew nothing about the subject. Itoki interrupts her, asking her to explain more about the costume when she finishes her task. Ryoko then apologizes for wasting her time, and, in a change of scene, we see Suzaku and Kusetsu competing to see who can get to the castle first. Suzaku kicks her, throwing her under the wall. The director then congratulates him on being the first to arrive. Suzaku then teases Kusetsu, asking if she thinks she can protect her beloved boss by fighting like this. As Itoki and Ryoko run towards the castle, Suzaku comes speeding towards them, and just as Suzaku jumps up to attack him, Kusetsu appears and hits him. After that, the two continue running as if nothing had happened to win the test, and Ryoko is impressed by the fact that Kusetsu uses 100% of the suit's strength. Later, Itoki finds Kairi, who has been attacked by the Koga, to steal her cupcake. At first, she thinks about lying to him, but then confesses that it was those bandits. But not only did they steal her trophy, they also broke the core of her costume. Itoki thinks about reporting it to the teacher, but Kairi replies that there's no point, as the principal has said that nothing happens unless they are clearly discovered. Itoki asks them to leave him alone. He runs towards the bandits to get the cupcake back, but they dodge him, causing him to hit the wall. They start beating him without him being able to do anything to defend himself, and Himura then smashes his head with his foot, saying that it's time for him to die. But then the director appears to interrupt the fight. He asks the protagonist if he wants to be taken to the infirmary, to which he replies that there's no need because nothing has happened to him. He then returns the cupcake to Kairi, but she says she can't accept it from him. However, he confesses that he took it from Koga's henchman. Later, we see Himura in front of the teacher, unable to find his cupcake. He remembers the exact moment when Itoki took it from him and becomes furious, shouting that he will kill him when he finds it. After that, Suzaku slaps him, clearly telling him not to let them go through any more embarrassment. Then Itoki comes with Kairi, carrying her on his back, as she is clearly injured. However, Itoki asks Ryoko to carry her to the finish line, as he still has something to do in the castle. The two girls comment that Itoki is a true gentleman and laugh together. other. Afterwards, we see that the principal only has one cupcake left and decides to eat it because Itoki took too long to get it. He shouts at Itoki, clearly angry that he failed the first test. Then, in a change of scene, while he is in front of the vending machine, the Koga clan start insulting him. Unable to stand the humiliation any longer, he decides to buy a 300 yen ramen. Even so, he hesitates and ends up buying the ninja food, which doesn't look very appetizing. Kusetsu says that he's clearly a coward, but Itoki replies that she is too, since neither of them wants to accept the fact that buying the 300 yen ramen could cause problems with the Koga. Kairi and Ryoko ask if they can sit with them. There, everyone starts laughing because, in the end, they'll all be eating the same disgusting food. In a change of scene, we see that there is a meeting of the Koga clan discussing the murder of their former chief. They are sure that the culprit belongs to the village of Iga and decide to investigate Takasada first. Next, we see a woman who is late for work at the Ninja Regulatory Organization building. She says that her name is Shioni and that she has just been assigned to the case of the Koga chief's death. Hayato immediately asks her what she knows about Takasada, to which Shioni replies that all she knows about him is hearsay. At this point, Hayato shows her images from a security camera that captured the moment when Takasada, along with Itoki, was attacked by ninjas. There we can see that they are moving so fast that the cameras can barely capture their movements. The boss comments that, for the time being, all the rumors about Takasada should be considered true. Afterwards, in the academy dormitory, Itoki asks Ryoko to teach him everything she knows about ninja tool, as he has an exam in 2 days and knows nothing about it. Kairi explains that there's no need to study because, during the test, the tools are used to steal the answers. She mentions that, the day before the test, the teacher hides the answers, so all you have to do is find them and take a sheet for everyone. Then, in a change of scene, Ryoko starts teaching Itoki how to use ninja tool. During the explanation, she reveals that, ever since she was a child, her father always made it clear that he wouldn't let her be his successor, raising her to be an ordinary young woman. However, she is sure that her father has the best intentions for her. Later, Itoki asks Kusitsu why they decided to choose him to be the head of the village instead of Takasada, but she replies that she should only take orders from him because that's how ninjas are. In another scene, Takasada goes to visit Gantetsu, who is responsible for making ninja tools and is also Ryoko's father. Gantetsu comments that no one else wants to buy his creations, so Takasada asks why he doesn't sell them to the Koga, since they were his best customers. There, the inventor explains that they offered to make something big and gave him the plans to build it. Gantetsu can't reveal what it is, but he says he intends to accept the offer. However, he mentions that accepting the offer will make everyone Skoga's slaves, but if he refuses the job, the village of Segatsu will go bankrupt. Gantetsu mentions that he clearly has a daughter named Ryoko, but he loves her too much to inherit her position, so he'd rather his daughter be happy in the normal world than see her suffer. Back at school, we see that the boys are actually planning to steal the answers, and they are accompanied by 2 students who admire Itoki, all thanks to the way he defended his classmates in the cupcake test. At night, they infiltrate the hallways of the school's main office. There, Ryoko gives Itoki a drone to observe the target from a distance, and thanks to this, he manages to record the safe, but when he returns, the device knocks on the door, and the teacher notices, causing her to back off. However, Akira throws a smoke bomb to throw the teacher off the scent so they can search for answers inside the office. On the other side of the screen, Takasada is about to infiltrate the Kuga factory. He also uses a drone to cover the security camera while running at full speed. Behind him is Shanae, who is clearly hiding in the bushes, watching his every move. She is tasked with spying on him, as he is the main suspect in the death of the Kuga boss, and upon seeing what he is doing, she begins to think that Takasada is crazy, as it is very dangerous to infiltrate this facility. Back with Itoki and his companions, they continue with the plan, but are surprised by the Kuga. They manage to open the safe, but Akira is confronting Rimura and his henchmen. Meanwhile, Takasada enters the office of the factory president. He tries to find the plans for something, but only finds money. There, he realizes that Shanae is following him and sets a trap for her, causing the guards to discover her. The next day, Shanae apologizes to her boss, saying that she messed up and lost Takasada, which is why she was unable to get any information. He tells her that she can continue with the mission, but asks her not to talk about it again. He then asks her what she thought of the Kuga factory, to which she replies that it seemed too guarded to be a regular cupcake factory. He wants to know if there is any indication of what is being manufactured there, but she doesn't seem to be sure. Later, the teacher gives the students their tests, and to their surprise, they discover that the answers are not the same as the ones they stole. We then learn that the day before, the Kuga had gotten to the vault first and changed the question. Because of this, Ryoko was the only one on the team who answered the test correct, since she knows a lot about ninja tool. At the Kuga factory, the president is furious because someone impersonated him and asked them to buy 10 Gantetsu ninja dolls and deposit the money immediately. We find out that Takasada did this so that Gantetsu, Ryoko's father, could recover financially. Thus, we see that Gantetsu is excited because even knowing that there was a mistake in the order, he cannot cancel it, nor can the Kuga. Later in the village, Takasada passes on the information that the Kuga are planning to steal Ziga's idea, building the most powerful suit. Back at school, we see the students practicing cleaning activities, and their Kautetsu tells Itoki that someone in their group is a traitor who is leaking information to the Kuga clan, since there was no way for them to know where the safe they were going to open was. Upon hearing this information, Itoki becomes thoughtful and suspicious of each of his friends. And after that, we see that the leader of the Fuma clan demands that Kairi remain a traitor no matter what, saying that she must lie and cheat in order to achieve victory. On the other side of the screen, Itoki invites all of his friends to spend a few days on vacation in Ziga's village. His mother welcomes everyone, but then turns to Ryoko and regrets what happened. Later, we see Takasada with the girl's father outside the workshop. Unfortunately, the Kuga attacked his workshop and they destroyed everything. However, despite it being them, they still have to accept the order to build a superior suit and a more powerful core. However, Gantetsu is more concerned about where his daughter is. Takasada then proposes to take her to the village and leave her there for a few days, since Ziga welcomes anyone who needs a home. After that, we return to Ziga's village, where everyone is excited to get to know the place better. Itoki asks them to make themselves comfortable while he's away, since today is the anniversary of his father's death, and he has some things to do. At that moment, we see Kairi taking a tour of the house, and it is at that moment that we discover that she has some hidden weapon. She communicates with Susako through a messenger bird, and we can see that the message she sent says that she managed to infiltrate Ziga's house, and that the security level is very high. Later, at the Ninja Regulation Office, Ashayani proposes to the entire board that they stop investigating Ziga and start investigating Skuga, since they are using Kinshimaru's corpse to create something new. She adds that there is a rumor that the Skuga are planning a large-scale attack against Ziga, but the chief says that the information has not been verified and that it would only create confusion, so they should continue with the investigation on Takasada. Meanwhile, Itoki and his mother are at the cemetery. He tells his old lady that the school principal told him about his father. Mika becomes sad when she hears this and says that his father always welcomed ninjas who had left their villages, because his motto was that they accepted everyone there, even if he was a renegade ninja from another clan. She then tells him that on the day his father died, they were on a mission with Takasada. She also adds that as the village chief, she sent her ninjas on much more dangerous missions, but she needs to be strong and accept the burden that everyone's lives are in her hand, which is the burden of being the clan leader. Later, we see Itoki and the girls going to a market to do some shopping. There, he discovers that all the people who work there are ninjas, but he clearly didn't know that. They are very happy that Itoki entered the academy. Itoki is surprised because he has always been to this market, but he never imagined that all of them were ninjas in hiding. After that, they go fishing in the river, and they blush when they see the girls in their swimsuits, and then they all start catching lots of fish with different techniques. Then, we see that Kairi feels sad, because just like her fishing method, she also feels like a small fish, since she is an imposter and does not have a village of her own. She also comments that this is clearly clearly the reason why her clan has the lowest position in society. At this moment, she has a flashback to when she was a child and her father forced her to lie and cheat, and he always told her that this is the only way for the Fuma clan to survive over the years. Therefore, her life mission is to deceive and pretend to be someone else to gain advantages. After that, we return to the present, and Itoki listens attentively to her, and when she finishes, Itoki says that she is a very good person, and that he will never forget the first day of school when he was very nervous, until Akari approached him and asked them to become friends. She is very touched by this, and they return to the mansion with a bucket full of fish. Itoki asks what they are going to do with all this food, and then Ryoko answers that today all the ninjas of the village will gather to remember the anniversary of the chief's death. Then, everyone starts to prepare for the celebration. Takasada then approaches Itoki while they are eating fish. He tells her that Kotetsu was abandoned by her parents, but Yumika took her in and took care of her. So, from that day on, the girl will do anything for her chief. After that, Takasada takes food to Shani, who clearly still has her eye on him. She asks, embarrassed, if he is really that good at it. Shane asks if they really killed Kishimaru, but he tells her not to ask that and just do her job, since she is the one who should decide if he is really that good at it to kill a stronger ninja. Unable to answer, she begins to enjoy the fish. Later, during dinner, everyone has a great time. After that, everyone starts talking and joking among friends. Then, Itoki approaches his mother and asks if his father's dream has always been to protect the village, since he feels that he is not yet mentally prepared to take over his father's place in the future. However, she tells him that he can rest assured, since Iga village is a wonderful place, and he still has a long way to go before he becomes the true leader of the village. The moment she says this, she is cursed, and she will probably end up dying. Later, Yumika takes him to a room to tell him something urgent. On the other hand, Gentetsu thanks Ryoko and also Kairi because Itoki told him that his friends are very important to him. Itoki also confessed that he has a lot of fun at the academy thanks to the two of them, and at this point, we can see that Kairi is feeling very bad about stealing information and passing it on to the Kuga. But after that, she sends another message to Suzaku, saying that there is nothing to report because everything is peaceful in the Ige village. Now, Yumika is telling Itoki the secret about the family nucleus. She says that this information is only known by the clan leaders, and that when Itoki becomes the leader, the whole secret will be revealed to him. The next day, we see that Itoki is impatient to know when he will become a ninja, but at that moment, Mitsuzu appears to inform him that on TV they are announcing that the Ninja Academy is going to close. Itoki Sada then says that this is a hidden announcement, that the Great Ninja Gathering is about to begin. This is a celebration held by order of the head of the regulatory organization, which brings together the most important ninjas, as the future of all ninjas in Japan will be decided at this meeting. We also learn that this gathering has not been held for over 70 years, and at this point, we see how the members of each clan heard the news. We then return to the Iga mansion, where the newcomers are confused, as they do not understand what is happening at this moment, since they have never heard of such an important event. At the same time, Mitsuzu, Itoki Sada, and Ayamika prepare to leave. Itoki asks his mother if it is convenient for the future leader to attend the meeting, to which Ayamika responds that the job of children is to study, so he should not neglect his studies just because of a long holiday. Finally, Itoki says goodbye to his mother, wishing her good luck on her journey. Later, the Ige arrive at the committee, as do representatives from all regions of the country. The atmosphere quickly becomes hostile among the clan leaders, but Hayato asks everyone to keep order in the room. He then calls for a grand ninja meeting, but they notice that one representative is missing. However, they are told that this village has been completely absorbed by the Koga, as well as the factory strip that now belongs to their corporation. They also add that the Fuma clan is now part of the Koga as well. Hayato interrupts the conversation and starts talking about the main topic. He denounces that the Koga have deceived other ninja villages, clearly taking control of their villages. In another room, Shanae and her co-workers are shocked that their boss is already investigating the Koga in secret. They come to the conclusion that Hayato hid this information because he feared that there were infiltrators within the organization. The chief then asks all the representatives to report if their villages have been invaded, because depending on the statements, this could result in the arrest of the Koga chief. Shanae and the others realize that this was Hayato's plan, because with the leaders of all the clans gathered together, it will be harder for the Koga to resist. However, his entire plan seems to go wrong, as everyone starts blaming Ziga. Yumika defends herself by saying that they had no reason to commit this crime. Everyone says that Ziga, in addition to starting a war, also killed Kishimaru. Yumika says that these accusations are are unfounded, and reinforces her statement by saying that there is no evidence against them. Yumika then says that they were investigating the Koga and discovered several irregularities in what they have been doing. Mitsuzu gives her an envelope with photos that clearly show that the clan is experimenting with a new tool, but there is also information that they are after a secret ninja nucleus. Finally, it is explained that the Koga intend to invade them under the pretext of the murder of their chief. Salmon then gathers courage and tells them that his clan was the target of the Koga invasion, and then shouts that they no longer have the strength to resist. He regrets not having said anything sooner, but his grandmother, who was a leader, became depressed and took her own life. Then, Iboru confesses that he is in charge of providing for the sustenance of all the inhabitants of his village, but that everything has become increasingly difficult because of the Koga. Then, more leaders say that the Koga are to blame for this meeting taking place now. Other leaders also stand up to denounce Clankdo's attack, and so, more and more leaders come to the conclusion that the Koga are to blame. However, just as they are taking the leader away, a man named Genji, who is the captain of the 2nd Division of the Regulatory Ninja Organization, appears. He announces that he has evidence of Kishimaru's murder, and there they are shown footage captured from a security camera, where we can see someone stabbing the former leader of Clankuga. However, the sound of the ninja corps can also be heard. Genji explains that the noise produced by the suits is very characteristic of each village, and finally, they decide that the sound belongs to the village of Iga. Genji then asks Yumika to accompany them to the court, but Takasada stands in front of him hiding a knife. The head of the Iga says that there is nothing to fear since they did not commit such a crime. Before leaving, Yumika asks Takasada to tell Itoki that she will be leaving the village in his hand. After that, the great ninja meeting ends. Later, Mitsuzu delivers the news that Yumika has been arrested, but to reassure him, he says that they have done nothing wrong and that they are innocent. Therefore, she should be released soon. At this point, Kautetsu approaches Takasada and asks him to come up with a plan to rescue her. Takasada then clearly conveys the message to Itoki that the village is in his hands. Itoki then orders that everyone in the Iga clan be gathered together. On the other side of the screen, we see Inri declaring war on the enemy clan. He also determines that his enemies must be completely exterminated. Later, we see Hayato in the control room watching the video of Kishimaru's death, but at this moment, Genji enters in a ninja outfit and stabs him in the back. He finally realizes that Genji was the traitor within the organization. The next day, a ceremony is held to make Itoki the true leader of the village. Although he is willing to take on this responsibility, he says that he will only be the leader until he can bring his mother back. Later, we see Yumika locked in a cell. At this moment, Genji appears, saying that he has taken Hayato's place and that she will now be sentenced to death. After this, we see Kidu revealing that he has been sick since birth, so his body had to be reconstructed so that he could be the leader of Shauga. Since then, all he remembers is the pain of the experiments they performed on him to achieve their goal, and these efforts were completely in vain, and the only thing he remembers is waking up in great pain. At the time, his only thought was that he wished he had never been born a ninja, or better yet, he wished there were no ninjas in this world. Later, we see him being released from prison, where Genji apologizes for keeping him locked up in such a place, and from what it seems, he is calling on the Koga clan to put their goal with the androids into action. Now, we see an emergency meeting of the entity that regulates the ninjas, where it is reported that 72 hours have passed since Hayato completely disappeared. Therefore, the role of chief will be assumed by Genji. Faced with this news, Shin interrupts everyone to say that her chief is on a solo mission, and that his disappearance is no reason to make such hasty decision. Genji says that a second squad will soon be sent to search for Hayato, and reveals that Kidu will be released from his charges due to lack of evidence. Genji then says that Yumika will be sentenced to death for the crimes of attempted murder of the leader of the Koga clan. To conclude the meeting that day, Shin is promoted to the rank of captain of the organization's first squad. Later, she meets with her team to share her suspicions about Genji's promotion to chief. She has been wondering about the different treatment the Koga clan receives compared to the Ziga, and she also finds it suspicious that she, clearly a newbie, has been promoted to captain of the first squad. So, she proposes that Hayato be sought out so that the whole situation can be clarified. Meanwhile, Kidu and Genji head to the Iga clan chief's office to offer him a deal in exchange for her freedom. Before they can say anything, Yumika realizes that they want to know the secret of the perpetual energy of the clan's secret armor, but she refuses to give it to them because if this valuable information falls into the wrong hands, the safety of humanity will be at risk. Genji warns her that she has until the next day to decide whether or not to be executed. And on the other side of the screen, we see Itoki and the girls meeting at the Iga clan clan headquarters. They hope that he will be a good leader. Out of nowhere, Takasada appears. He asks Itoki and Kotsu to accompany him to an emergency meeting, where everyone learns that Yumika will be executed the next day. One of the clan members proposes going on a rescue mission, opposing the decision of the regulatory ninja organization, but Mitsuzu says that if they do that, they will end up declaring war on all the clans. Therefore, Takasada proposes that he be expelled from the clan so that he can go and rescue the chief without all of them having to face the consequences of a war. But Raiha says that this is not necessary because no one will believe that he was expelled and they will only see his actions as an attack on the village. Kotsu immediately attacks Itoki and demands to be expelled so that she can go with Takasada on a rescue mission since she has no blood ties to the clan. This is the only way she can repay Yumika for taking her in and taking her in as a child. Finally, Itoki reacts and gives his first order as chief of the Iga village. He entrusts the rescue of his mother to Takasada and Kotsu. As time is running out and they have no choice but to clearly use force to rescue her, they must also avoid causing serious harm to anyone. And while they do so, the rest of the clan must gather evidence to prove that they are innocent and that their clan has not committed any crimes. After the clan meeting ends, we see that Reiha is outside, listening to everything that is happening, and on the other side of the screen, we see Housen, Enrei, and Kidu meeting to call an extraordinary meeting with the clan. When they are informed that Suzaku has arrived at the headquarters, he informs them that he has a spy in the Iga village. The spy informed him that Itoki is preparing a plan to rescue Yumika, so Suzaku believes that this is the perfect time to attack the Iga clan. A while later, he ends up saying that he would like to be part of the attack team against Ziga, and Kidu accepts. Since Suzaku has recently shown great performance as a ninja, his father immediately tries to convince him not to participate, arguing that he is still just a child, but Suzaku does not listen to him and decides to participate, and that from now on he will make his own decisions, and that there is no turning back since he would look like a coward if he ran away. Faced with these words, his father could do nothing and allowed Suzaku to do whatever was necessary for the good of the clan. Later, a meeting of the Kuga clan takes place to authorize the attack on the village of Riga, but Huzen and a group of people oppose the operation. Suddenly, Kidu shoots him, making it clear that there is no place for cowards in his village. After this, several disaster announcements are broadcast throughout the city, and the citizens are advised to stay indoors. At the same time, Mitsuzu realizes that this is a strategy of the Kuga to cover up the attack they are going to launch against the Riga, and then we see the enemy approaching the village with several trucks loaded with android. Not only that, but several ninjas are ready to begin the invasion. Suddenly, we discover that the Riga clan has cutting-edge technology to face them. However, many androids survive the cannon blast, so the Riga clan's vigilante has no choice but to die like a ninja. He ends up destroying a large part of the enemy attack force, and upon witnessing the death of the vigilante, everyone mourns this loss. But since they are at war, they must continue the attack. At the same time as this is happening, we see two young men holding hands approaching the entrance to the prison where Yumika is being held captive. This prompts the guard to intervene and stop them in their track, but at that moment it is revealed that they are Akutetsu and Takasada, who easily manage to escape security to free the clan leader. As they are about to flee, they are intercepted by Genji, who informs them that they are under arrest for breaking the law. Back at Itoki, he and his team are in the control tower to monitor the battle against the androids. However, they are at a disadvantage against Kenkuga, as the battle machines keep arriving and the ninja's forces are running out. Ryoko volunteers to examine the androids and asks one of the shinobi to bring one to the control tower. She later discovers that the machine's weak point is their energy, as they cannot sustain themselves for more than an hour without recharging. At that moment, Mitsuzo informs her that an android was following him, but retreated without doing anything to him. This confirms that the android's weakness is energy, and that Kenkuga's target is the infinite energy supply that Ziga has, which is why they are attacking the village. Itoki assumes that the attack on the main gates was a distraction to take the energy sources to the village, since only then can the androids be recharged and return to battle. Ryoko then asks Rhea to investigate the alternative streets through which the recharged trucks could have entered the village. After that, Itoki proposes sending a reconnaissance squad to destroy the energy source, but Mitsuzo opposes this idea because if they split the team, the defense line will be breached and their enemies will invade the village. At that moment, we see Ryoko join the mission. She also thinks that it is her duty to resolve this whole situation, because it was her clan that invented these androids. Amidst the boys' commotion, Krei makes it clear that she will wait for them at the base. Itoki and Ryoko then head to the storage to prepare for battle. At this point, Krei takes the opportunity to inform the Koga clan, but regrets it and decides to keep quiet. On the other side of the screen, we see Shanae and her team intercepting some suspicious men. There, they realize that the men are clearly Koga clan henchmen, who were ready to make Hayato's body disappear. Later, they intercept Genji, who at the time was fighting Takasada. Genji demands that Shanae and Takasada be arrested, but she accuses him of being Koga's accomplice in Hayato's murder. She then orders her team to arrest Genji, but he refuses to cooperate and accuses her of being linked to the Iga clan. This greatly angers Shanae, as the last thing she wants to hear is the accusation of a traitor. Suddenly, Takasada makes a quick move, which completely knocks Genji unconscious, allowing the Iga clan to flee the scene. Finally, Kotetsu and Yumika reach the secret entrance to the village and realize that an invasion is taking place, so they quickly rush to help the village. After this, we see that Ryoko and Itoki are guarding the enemy, but there are too many of them to face them. Ryoko proposes to go back for reinforcements, but Itoki knows that he doesn't have time for that, and he wants to attack now because his guard is down. Fortunately, she had already come up with a plan for this occasion, as she knew Itoki would say something like that. She then explains that she extracted a device that keeps the android's signal together, and that using her knowledge, she will make the androids freeze for 10 seconds, giving him the opportunity to destroy the power source with explosives. They immediately execute the plan, but Suzaku, who was patrolling, stops them. Suddenly, one of the androids that was holding Itoki takes the explosives from him. At that moment, we realize that the android's intention is to destroy the energy source. The explosive is triggered, and all the androids fall to the ground. After the shock, Itoki and Ryoko realize that the android that helped them was Kairi, so they take her to a safe place. After that, we see Shioni going to Genji's cell, hoping that he will confess his crimes, but he decides to remain silent until his lawyer arrives. He immediately swears revenge on everyone and begins to use an illusion technique. Back in Iga village after celebrating their victory, Kotetsu and Yumika arrive at the mansion, but Kotetsu begins to lose control of herself and captures Yumika to get information about where the infinite energy source is. However, Yumika does not reveal anything and ends up being killed by Kotetsu. After that, we see several ninja androids causing great destruction in the city. They also take over several villages. At the same time, Itoki is devastated by the death of his mother. Raiha then informs him that he should be officially appointed as the village chief. She also adds that they are trying to get Kotetsu to talk, but she won't say a single word, so they need to decide on her punishment as soon as possible. Itoki looks at the bloodstain where his mother was, and memories of the previous day come to his mind. Later, someone warns Suzaku that it is better not to return to Skuga, as Kidu is out of control, saying that he will kill anyone who does not follow his orders. The boy asks why his father was killed, and the informant tells him that Housen did not agree with Kidu's plan, and that is why he ended up like that. For a moment, Suzaku thinks that his father deserved it for not obeying orders, but the informant says that Housen was not a coward, and that he only wanted the well-being of the village and a better future for his son. Before leaving, the man asks Suzaku to take care of himself so that the same thing that happened to his father does not happen to him. Later, during the inauguration ceremony as the new chief of Iga village, Itoki misses his mother very much, but unfortunately there is nothing he can do. There we see that everyone is furious about what happened to Yumika, and they want revenge on Skuga. However, Itoki just asks them to wait until his mother's funeral is over. Later, Ryoko and Kairi have to go home, but Ryoko asks Kairi if she wants to go to Yumika's funeral. She says that it would be an honor. However, Kairi is a little sad because she doesn't think she will be able to attend. After they say goodbye, Takasada appears and asks Itoki to go see Kotetsu. When he enters, he is surprised to see her tied up with a rope. Kotetsu explains that if they don't keep her tied up, she will look for any opportunity to take her own life. She tells him that the day before a bell rang in her head and that her memories are now fragmented. She then breaks down, revealing that when she woke up, she was covered in blood. She then asks Itoki to kill her immediately, as there is no reason for her to continue living. At this point, Takasada Takasada intervenes and explains that he already knows what happened. The Kuga manipulated her by implanting a chip in her, just as they did with Satomi. He also mentions that Kidu did the same with all the women he had, thus creating several spies who do not know that they are being controlled. Finally, Takasada reveals to Kotetsu that she is Kidu's daughter. Kotetsu starts screaming, asking why they didn't kill her if they already knew that, to which Takasada replies that Yumika would not have allowed it. At that moment, we see a flashback where Takasada tells Yumika the truth. However, despite knowing that Kotetsu is a descendant of his enemy, Yumika decided to take care of her as if she were her own daughter. Back in the present, Itoki begs for Kotetsu to be released as she is innocent. Takasada then says that he took it upon himself to teach her the art of ninjutsu, and that he knows perfectly well that she would never do something like that. He also says that Kotetsu tried to attack Yumika, but failed. Upon hearing this, Itoki hugs Kotetsu, as he understands that she was not the culprit. However, Takasada adds that there is another traitor among them. The next moment, we see Kidu satisfied, because after so long, he finally executed his plan perfectly. He never thought that his daughter Kotetsu would complete the mission, since he considered her a defective product. Now he feels much more confident, because his rival is just a child. After this, Kairi returns to her village, and informs her father that she has completed her mission to spy on Ziga. Then, all that remains is to deliver the report to the Kuga, but at that moment, she discovers that it is a trap, since the androids were programmed to eliminate her. Her father tells her that the only way to survive is to deceive everyone, so he prepares to kill her with a knife. However, all of this was just a distraction, and her father opens a hatch in the floor for Kairi to escape. While she is running, a bomb is detonated to eliminate the androids, or her father shouts, saying that the village will always smoke and will live. After this, Ruko goes to visit her father in the hospital and notices that he is missing one of his hands. He confesses that he didn't want her to know this, but he was treated very badly by Kuga, and they did this to him just for complaining. He says that their village will no longer be able to make tools. Distressed, Ruko begins to cry in her father's arms, not knowing what to do. After this, Itoki is left alone in front of Yumika's remains, and after the funeral is over, Suzaku appears and bows before the coffin, but then calls Itoki a coward. Itoki quickly pushes Suzaku and pins him to the ground. Itoki asks him to understand his pain in this difficult time, to which Suzaku responds that Kidu will do everything he can to destroy Ziga. Suzaku then reveals that his father opposed the invasion of the villages, and that because of that he was killed. He also adds that his father has always worked for the good of the clan, and he is certain that he was not wrong. Itoki then asks why Suzaku continues to fight for the people who killed his father. Suzaku then throws it away, and confesses that this is the only thing he has left. After this, Suzaku arrives home and looks at a photo of his father. He notices that behind the photo frame, there is an SD memory card. He connects it to the computer and watches the actual video of Kishimaru's death. In the video, Kishimaru argues with Kidu about the future of the organization. Kishimaru does not agree that they should take control of all the villages, and asks Kidu to cancel the invasion project immediately. Kidu replies that Kishimaru would never understand him, since he was born with talent and everyone loved him. While Kidu has only received pain and suffering, Kishimaru feels compassion for his brother. But at that moment, a ninja pierces his back. Upon seeing this, Suzaku is shocked, because everything he thought was right has fallen apart. The next day, Mitsuzu informs Itoki that he has received a letter from Kidu, demanding that they deliver the ninja core to the village for him. Mitsuzu and the others insist, saying that if they don't do this, they will be massacred. However, Itoki asks for more time to think about it. Later, in front of Yumiga's altar, Itoki asks her if she has ever thought about having a normal life, because at first, he didn't even believe that ninjas existed. Because of this, he disagrees with the way ninjas live today, but he has no intention of running away or abandoning the position that Yumiga left him. He finally apologizes and decides that he will do things his way, so he asks Takasada for help. After this, Itoki gathers all the ninjas and says that he will deliver the core to the Kuga, but on one condition, that they let them live in peace. No one thinks this decision is right, and they start yelling that it's stupid and that they should go to war. But he says that this is his final decision and that he won't let anyone change his mind. In the next scene, we see that Kidu doesn't plan on signing the peace treaty. He only accepted temporarily so as not to get in trouble with the ninja regulatory body, and his priority is to take the Iga's secret core before attacking them again. Later, Kiri goes to the Sigatsu factory and finds everything destroyed. She goes down to the basement and finds Ruko working non-stop. Ruko apologizes for not welcoming her and says that she can't stop working. Suddenly, She starts crying because she is the only person in the village capable of creating and maintaining ninja tools, but she feels that she is not strong enough to rebuild the workshop by herself. Kiri then reveals to her that her father has died, but she doesn't feel sad because she hated him as much as anyone. He taught her that for a weak village to survive, it was necessary to deceive and betray everyone, and in the end, the Kuga betrayed them, and that's why Kiri was able to stop being a spy for the Kuga. Suddenly, Kiri admits that Yumika's death was her fault because she warned them that Takasada wasn't there. Kiri starts to cry because she feels like she betrayed everyone, but Ruko says that she is still a very special friend because the time they spent together was genuine, just like her tears. Meanwhile, Suzaku calls Kidu and says that she found the video of what really happened that day, and as a token of loyalty, she wants to personally deliver it to Kidu. In a scene change, Mitsuzu and the others tell Itoki that they have decided not to sign the peace agreement with the Kuga. They also ask Itoki to resign as village chief, but he refuses, so Mitsuzu says that they need to prepare for war. Later, Kiri goes to apologize to Itoki for lying and betraying him. However, Takasada is the one who receives her. He reveals that he already knew that she was undercover. Takasada says that despite it being her mistake, she is not to blame for Yumika's death, since the real traitor is someone else inside the mansion, and to make up for it, Kiri acted very well by blowing up a Kuga base. He finally tells her that he will not deliver her apology message yet, since Itoki is too busy taking care of the village's affairs. Later, we see that the Iga ninjas are planning to capture Itoki and get the secret core, so they enter the house, and Mitsuzu discovers that Raiha is out of position. He attacks her, saying that he never thought she was the traitor, but suddenly a flashback is shown in which Itoki tells Mitsuzu that Kotsu did not kill his mother, and that there is a traitor within Iga. He asks Mitsuzu to help him reveal the traitor, and Itoki chose him, because he is the most loyal and trustworthy person in the clan. Now we return to the present, where Mitsuzu has Raiha immobilized. He asks if she is aware of all the blood that was spilled because of her, and Raiha finally reveals that Yumika took her husband without caring about the consequence. For this reason, she trusted Kidu, who promised to save her husband. Raiha then comments that she is unable to bear a life of suffering and swallows a poison capsule. After this, we see the letter that Itoki left for the ninjas, where he apologizes for having deceived them, as he only wanted to find the traitor. In a parallel scene, Takasada goes to Suzaku's house to investigate his father. However, Suzaku is waiting for him. He gives him the memory card with the video of Kishimaru's murder, and only asks him not to get in his way. At the same time, Itoki plans to infiltrate Skuga's headquarters to make a proposal to Kidu. Takasada rejects the suggestion because the place will be too well protected, but Itoki says that he intends to enter using the secret core, so he puts on the suit and heads towards Skuga's village. Meanwhile, Mitsuzu and the other ninjas are regretting having judged Itoki, but they are determined to defend the village and fight with all their strength. After that, they arrive at Skuga's headquarters with Takasada and Kautetsu. Itoki does not agree that they also risk their lives, but they refuse to back down. In a flashback, we see Itoki comforting Kautetsu, saying that his mother's wish was to see what her children would become when they grow up. Then, Takasada gives her an electrical device, with which he destroys the chip in her brain. Now we return to the present, and Kautetsu thanks Itoki for taking her out of her sadness. Later, they enter the building and ask to speak to Kidu immediately, but are surrounded by an army of robot ninjas. Enri and Kidu think they were stupid for coming in, but suddenly Kairi and Ryoko appear to fight alongside them. Ryoko throws an explosive that paralyzes the androids for 2 minutes. Kairi approaches Itoki and, embarrassed, says that she came to atone for his sins, because even despite everything she did, she wants to continue being his friend, and seeing that she is finally telling the truth, Itoki is happy and accepts her apology. Finally, Ryoko and Kairi stay behind so that he can advance towards Kidu. On the way, they encounter Kuga ninjas, who activate some androids. Itoki asks Kautetsu and Takasada to stay behind, while he destroys the androids with the secret core, but this leaves him exhausted, because despite moving faster, his stamina is still that of a normal human. The enemy realizes this and tries to capture him, but Kautetsu gets in the way and creates a smoke barrier to escape the place. However, they are intercepted by Suzaku, who decides to help them, facing his former comrades. After this, Kautetsu and Itoki arrive at Kidu's office, who is patiently waiting for them. Itoki tries to make a deal, proposing to hand over the core in exchange for peace. He asks Kidu about his intention to exterminate the ninjas, and without a clear answer, Itoki suspects that Kidu wants to be the last ninja to change the system. Itoki says that if that is the case, he will spare him, but Kidu responds that he wants to eliminate all ninjas because he hates his own existence. He challenges Itoki to kill him, but Kautetsu asks him not to. At this point, it is revealed that everything was part of a plan to make Kidu confess his crimes, and everything he said was recorded. In a flashback, we see Itoki explaining his plan to Shine, asking that the ninja regulatory body not interfere. Back in the present, Shine orders Kidu's capture, who reacts by attacking Itoki and Kautetsu. Itoki says that he will continue to protect the next generation of ninjas. Just as his mother did, he and Kautetsu attack Kidu, damaging his armor and causing him to lose control. Kidu calls him a coward and tries to grab a weapon, but Takasada appears and stabs him with a metal bar, killing him in the same way that Kidu killed his brother. Before leaving, Takasada takes responsibility for Kidu's death and asks Kautetsu to smile every now and then. After that, Shine orders him to be hunted down for the attack on Skuga headquarters and Kidu's death. She screams into the air that she won't let him escape, but in the background we can see that she clearly enjoys spending time with him. As they leave the building, Itoki asks Kautetsu what she will do from now on, to which the girl replies that she doesn't know yet, but that she is sure that now she can do whatever she wants. After that, several years pass, and Shine is still looking for Takasada, but deep down, she hopes that he is well and in a good place. We also see that Ryoko is working in her father's workshop, and he has managed to get her a prosthetic arm. Later, we are shown that Kairi has become an actress, and when asked what motivated her to choose this profession, she answers that she became an actress because she is a great liar. In addition, we see that Suzaku has become the head of the Skuga clan and is leading the village as Kinshimaru would have wanted. Finally, we see Kautetsu, who is about to embark on a journey, but before that, she stops by Yumika's grave to say goodbye. There, she says that today will be Itoki's first day of work, but knowing him, he will definitely quit on the second day. When she says this, we see Itoki in the subway extraction. He saves a boy who is about to fall onto the track, and this makes everyone around him look at him in amazement at his great skill. The boy asks if he is a ninja, and Itoki feels a kind of satisfaction, but answers that ninjas do not exist, and asks the boy not to believe everything he sees. Thus, the anime Shinobi no Itoki ends. If you like this video and want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.